Hi, welcome back. We're going to talk about question 8, 9, and 10, and they're all the same fact scenario. So it says a researcher wishes to compare two stepping heights, low and high, and now they want me to do a confidence interval. So another way they could have asked it is they could ask you to make an estimate of the difference between the two methods. So that's code for do a confidence interval. Now they're asking which of the following would be a correct interpretation of the interval. So technically, they're not even asking you to do it. They're asking you, you went ahead and did it. And so I'm going to practice my script. Let's imagine they gave me data and I went ahead and did it. This is our script nearly verbatim, B. So I look back in my notes, and here's my note packet, and I'm using this to basically take notes to, again, kind of build on what I knew before. We're 98% confident that the interval from blank to blank captures the true difference in mean, and then I copied the question. The difference in mean heart rate between those who did the high and those who did the low stepping heights. So you should always be practicing these scripts because if it's a free response question, you're going to have to write this out. We're 98% confident the interval from blank to blank captures the true difference in mean heart rate between those who did the high and those who did the low stepping height. So make sure you write this out somewhere in your notes. Okay, now since this is the script in our brain, we're really reading these and finding which one is a match with our script, and definitely B is it. Okay, so let's go forward to 9. 9 says, using the same problem in 8, the researchers went ahead and did the hypothesis test. So again, we're supposed to assume there's no difference between either you use a low step or a high step in class. And we do this to figure out, is there a difference? So they're presuming that when I take 1 minus 2, I'm going to get a number less than 0. So if I take, they're actually thinking that low minus high is going to give you a negative number. And I think that's conducive to what you would think as well. You're thinking, if I have to step up something really high, it should drive up my heart rate. So if this number is bigger than that number, I'm going to end up with a negative number. Okay, so it says it produces a p-value of that. What does that really mean? So they're asking you, do you understand what the calculator is doing there? So once again, we got asked in our notes in class on question 80, interpret the p-value. So they're going to keep asking this question, whether on a free response or in the multiple choice. So you got to be ready for it. So again, I just copied my notes from 80 and changed the wording. So if they would have asked me in this question in a free response to interpret the p-value, I would say if there is really no difference, and that's H sub O, if there really is no difference in the mean heart rate between those who did the high and those who did the low stepping heights, then the probability of us observing a difference this extreme or greater in our sample would be that. So this is what p-value means. When I think about this in my mind, definitely D captures the words of my script. If the null hypothesis is true, if in fact there is no difference, then the probability of getting a difference, at least as far or farther from 0, and remember, when I'm doing a difference of mean, that's what's in the middle, 0. There is no difference. Okay? Makes sense? So they calculated some t-value, we don't know what it is, and then they calculated the area under the curve to the more extreme values, and they're saying the area under that curve is that number, okay? And that number is assuming that this really is the true value that we know we're going to get. How extreme was that value? And that's a pretty extreme value, okay? Now 10, almost done here. They finally give us some data to look at. So it says researching, we still did random assignments, so that's important, of 50 volunteers, 25 in each. Group 1 did the low. Group 1 had this data. Group 2 had this data. Please assume that the conditions are met. Okay, that's nice. Which of the following could be a 98% confidence interval? Very important. Could be. Interesting. Interesting word choice there from them for the difference in mean. Okay. So once again, I want you to get in the habit of always making a chart like this. So you can freeze the camera and kind of copy it and then walk yourself through it. Group 1 we said was low, and the average heart rate of those 25 people were this, and the average amount that their heart rate varied from 90 was 9. And same with group 2. They've asked us to assume they've all been met. So unlike in 7, I'm just assuming all of these are good to go, even though this number is less than 30. So what they're really saying here is a lot of what question 7 said. They're saying it's unimodal, there's not much skewness, there are no outliers. Assume all that's good. Okay, so when you type this in your calculator, you're going to add these numbers in, make sure you don't get pooled, and I got this value in my calculator. So also be careful that you do 98. The default setting in the calculator is 0.95. So a 98% confidence interval goes from -12 to 2. So what it's doing is it's assuming how I put that in there, one versus the other. I also noticed, well, hold on, and then I looked and I didn't get exactly that, but again, I've done a lot of these problems and I know that if I get this and if I type back in switching group 1 or group 2, because it doesn't matter which one you call group 1 or group 2, if you call low 2 and high 1, you will get answer D. That's exactly what I got. So this is the thing you got to be careful of. I 100% got this value. This is a value I could get. And if that trips you up, again, depending on how you set your H sub A, you got to be careful. Also, depending on which one you call group 1 and group 2 in your calculator, both of these would be confidence intervals you could get depending on which workout height you assign, okay? Let me know if you got more questions on this in class. Great job on doing your homework. See you in class Thursday.